All right, friends, welcome to Magical Monday. I'm just going to pull up the chart of the moment. Okay. I was just realizing the other day that it's been a while since I brought back the whole April O'Neil cosplay. So, let's see here. That's really funny. Let's see. Okay, I'll do this later. All right, welcome to Magical Monday. I am your host, April O'Neil, from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And so I thought it was probably going to be a fun thing today to do a little bit of astro reading, but we're going to do a little bit of a throwback to what I even talked about when it came to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the royal fixed stars of the cosmos. So welcome. If this is your first time to my channel, to my live stream, I typically read comic books live. So, but I'm also an astrologer. I'm also a neurolinguistic astrologer, and to define that, I combine practices of NLP, which is neurolinguistic programming, along with astrology, which is a very ancient practice. So, together, I kind of look at it as your star chart. The stars at large are a navigation system. They're like waypoints in a video game. That's right. April O'Neil is very special to me. April O'Neil is like probably the reason why I even moved to Toronto in the first place. So I'll give you guys some, to get you guys excited about what I'm going to be reading later, it's a Batman and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle crossover. So what that looks like is that you have different dimensions, you know, with Krang and stuff, they have like Dimension X and stuff like that. So the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and April O'Neil, it's like this concept in comic books as well, where there's always an anchor, right? There's always like someone who's telling the story itself. So when we think of that, there's a level of like intel there about how stories are ever so important. So I loved April O'Neil. I still do love April O'Neil. Because she's like the best friend, right? She helps get them out. And even, no spoilers to the story that I'll read later, but she actually comes through for the turtles when they need her, right? So even though she's, oh, thank you. And I love April. She's a badass, you know? And I look at April in the same vein of the other, you know, badass news anchors out there who are like actually interested in getting down to the truth, because a lot of superheroes were friends with investigative journalists probably before that profession. Who's my favorite turtle? My favorite turtle has changed. It's currently Michelangelo, because I'm a Taurus, and I feel like Michelangelo is very much like a Taurus, and I relate to him a lot. But when I was growing up, my favorite turtle was Leonardo. So I have a soft spot in my heart for the leader of the pack. So Leonardo is a favorite. But I mean, I love all of them. How can you not? Do you have a favorite turtle? IBI 8588 and Geronimo, thank you so much. But if you have a favorite turtle, please do drop it in the chat. I do think I did an astro thing. I will link to it. I'm not going to go into it too much today because that's old news somewhat, but I went into a whole thing about how the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles relate to the royal fixed stars. So I love the 90s movie too, and like also like Vanilla Ice, go ninja, go. Stay tuned. I may make a dance to that, you know. And April O'Neil in that movie was cool. You have Casey Jones and stuff like that. But some fun facts about April. Her best friend on the Ninja Turtles is actually Donatello. And that kind of makes sense, too, I think. Donatello is like, he's also the one who gets along best with Batman. And I think that makes sense, you know, being like, kind of like a tech nerd, that kind of stuff. Mikey, yeah, me too. I love Mikey. You need that like levity in the group, you know? Like sometimes like Raphael and Leonardo can be ever so serious. And Raphael has that whole did you know that Raphael actually has like a fox girlfriend, I think, in like one of the storylines from Japan. So, and Raphael does a lot of like you know, the dark side. So I look at Raphael as like a Scorpio. I look at Michelangelo as a Taurus. I look at Donatello as an Aquarius, and Leonardo is Leo. So those are the four fixed stars. The other stars that we deal with are, you know, the cardinal signs and then the mutable signs as well. So that's going to be what we talk about later when we do the card reading of the now. But for now, I'm going to, as April O'Neil, give you a cosmic news flash of what is actually going on in the stars today, in the cosmos today. There's a lot of spicy stuff happening in the stars. And so whether or not you believe in astrology, like whether or not you believe the moon is what they say it is, that really isn't the point. The point is that you have an observable universe that you can use as a navigation system to tell where you are relative to other things. And we can think of it at this level, like this material realm, and we can think of it at all the infinite realms above and below us, right? So it's just about of like navigating where we are. I look at this as like, you know, the video game of life, and stars and cosmos and like any guides that you have in your life function as waypoints and ways for you to kind of see where you are in respect to everything. Vinod Khurana, an astrophysicist. I feel like there's a level of astrophysics that eventually becomes kind of mystical, but that could just be an opinion. Okay, so let's get into the read from the now. If you want to see this, actually, I won't actually do a screen share today. I'm going to do this, you know, very old school, like we're in a classroom. So first, I'm going to show you guys. Oh my goodness, everything's falling. Okay, not everything's falling all the time. So these are my cards. That's going to be later. So we're going to go look at the chart of what I like to call the everlasting now. So this is like my little my little chart. And so if we think about your rising sign, that creates a horizon, and then from the horizon you basically, oh hey Pikachu, welcome. This is your star report, your Cosmo star report of the everlasting now. Do I have any? No, not yet. But I do. Turtles themselves as a symbol, so chock full of meaning, right? Turtles all the way down. The story of like how the Ninja Turtles first came to be is a cool one, right? Like, you know, I'm from the 80s, so like, you know, a lot of time hanging out in basements, coming up with like crazy ideas together. So you had two guys who basically sat around their like dinner table and were like, you know what would be really funny if we made turtles that like seem really slow actually be, you know, fast, like ninjas, right? And also I feel like in the 90s, I don't know if you guys remember, like ninjas were all the rage, like the three ninjas, ninjas this, samurai swords, so all of that kind of stuff. All of my friends in the 90s too were like taking taekwondo or you know, karate. That was like a big thing, right? Martial arts, because all the 80s, 90s movies, if you think about it, they all my hair is just getting in the way. I need to cut my bangs, you guys. You're totally correct. Like the light years things, and we can get into all of that as well, but everything is perspective, right? So the way I put it is this is like, you are the master of your own universe, and so whatever intel you get from the lights and stars at the time that you receive it, no different than a story, right? Like there's been many stories that I've had, like this one, for example. I read this live on TikTok, maybe it's not over a year ago, this crossover between Batman and the Ninja Turtles. And I bet you when I read this story again out loud, I am going to find things that I totally missed the first read. The illustrations are really nice too here with the turtles. It's really nice. But this is a cool story. You have Splinter in here as well, having some fun conversations with Batman about, you know, your totem animals. Me and Arya did a whole, what did we do? We did a whole talk about totem animals. And so turtles as a totem, right? Like they're like mutants. Oh my gosh, let me fix my bangs. If we think of turtles as totems, like turtles all the way down, and what they actually symbolize are, I'm literally watching Are you serious, Geronimo? That's some crazy synchronicity. But that's what I was saying, you guys. Like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles have been around a long time. And I don't know if you guys know this, but as far as comic books go, there's like 2 streams for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in terms of the story. So there was apparently, you guys remember Archie comics, right? So I first got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you know, grocery shopping, and like you're about to like check out, and at the kiosk there they have like Archie comics, Betty and Veronica comics, and they had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comics. And so I read this whole series that was pretty dark about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where they actually, went to different dimensions, traverse realms. So like that's like the juice, I think, of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and this concept of being a teenager, right? And as a teen, being called to save the world, save the universe, being called to be a hero, even though you're of that age, right? So I think it's yeah. So to your point, Vinod, as well, like I love the line from Dr. Manhattan where he says, all we see of stars are their old photographs, right? Because it takes a while for like the light to hit you. And so we are living in the everlasting now. We can only take a marker, like no different than you put your hand, you can't put your hand in the river twice, because you put your hand in the river and it flows through, and it just flows through. Oh my gosh, great, Geronimo. So I think we are. I'm an 80s baby. I was born in 85. So I'm dating myself. We're from a golden age of TV, I think, when there was just so much like just weird shows and stuff that got out there where I feel like this stuff would never get out today, but they still exist and they were made. And so even though that's from the past, that's why I feel like in the 80s there's this genre of music called synthwave, or like retro future. This idea of a dream of the past becomes the future now, and we are now living in that dream of the past. And so us doing stuff now is also somehow affecting the past. So it's a fun thing. Oh yes, Geronimo. So you're part of my Pluto in Scorpio babies. So we'll get into that in just a second. Let's go into the chart. We'll go into it. I like to look at it from a planetary perspective. So, thanks, Nick. I like that you think that, because we get so caught up in like belief systems, right? And we should be able to have like the freedom to, like, for example, comic books are a good way to look at this, right? Or even mythology, where you can have multiple stories and multiple versions, but they can all be true, and you probably have a favorite version, right? So for Supergirl, who I love Supergirl. I've cosplayed as her a lot, and she's got different versions, right? And you can have a favorite version, and your version is your favorite because it's you, and you, like, no different than the favorite ice cream, favorite episode of something, favorite movie. That's yours. No one told you to have that to be your favorite. That's like an intel from you to remember something. So whenever you have, oh, thank you. I'm blessed from the universe, right? That's what the way I put it. So actually that's a great way to segue into this. Voice of One, I actually have your starseed blueprint complete. I'm sending it to you this afternoon, just so you know. And then we can have a talk about it afterwards. So I'm a neurolinguistic astrologer. I made up that title. Because I did a certification in NLP, which is Neurolinguistic Program, which is, there's a book that I ended up getting called The Structure of Magic, the concept of the words that you say matter, right? So for example, let's start with the sun. I'm going to take these guys off here. So for example, if we take the sunshine, right? And I love the sun. I love the heat. I love it when it's almost too hot. I love the humidity. My mother is Filipino, my father is South African, and so the heat is my friend. That being said, too much heat is problematic, right? You can have heat stroke and get into issues, but that doesn't mean you don't like the sun. It just means like you need to have a balance, right? So we can look at all of these things in that kind of way. Their stories provide context, right? Another story to kind of illustrate NLP is, if you guys have seen the movie Tolkien. So Tolkien, who created or wrote Lord of the Rings, right? So Tolkien, in this movie, there's this beautiful scene with him and the girl in his life who is the inspiration behind Arwen, right? His elf lady love. And so they have this conversation over lunch, and Tolkien is actually a linguist, right? He creates all the elves language, and so he has a very unique, I think, overstanding of the importance of language when you are making magic, making anything, doing anything. Language is a technology, right? So we can expand our definitions as to what tech is. Tech isn't just the phone that I'm using to broadcast to you guys. Tech is also like language, the written word itself. This idea of an idea is in my head and then I write it down. Or like comic books, I find incredibly magical. This illustration, you can illustrate a whole world and I can show you so you can see what I mean, right? So that's the whole key to everything as we are goddess way. Hey, do you have a question, or are you putting your hand? It's like, do you have a question? Putting your hand up. So I'm April O'Neil. I have a very special orc, goblin, troll, dwarvish. Oh, I didn't even finish my my story with Tolkien. So Tolkien and his lady love, they go and have lunch at this cafe, and Tolkien's working on Lord of the Rings, right, which is based on his friends, you know, going an adventure. I love that because my story is also the same. You write what you know, but then you get to put your friends in these beautiful, fantastical roles because that's how I see them, right? So I see you as like, you know, a warrior princess, or I see you as a knight in shining armor. All these roles that I see with friends in my lives that in fantastical stories you can bring them up. So Tolkien was doing the same, and he was talking about this. I'm probably going to misquote the word, but I'll make it up. So I think Salamoon. It was supposed to be an elvish word. So he's telling her, he's like, doesn't this word sound beautiful? Salamoon. Say like, oh, it's beautiful. And she's like, oh, it is beautiful, but what does it mean? And Tolkien looks at her and he's like, oh, well, I don't know yet. And she's like, well, a word can't be beautiful until it has meaning. And he's like, well, then how do you create meaning? He's like, well, tell me a story about Salamoon. And so Tolkien thinks for a moment. He's like, all right, Salamoon is a tree in the middle of this beautiful, magical land which grows a fruit that is coveted by this princess of an elvish land, and she wants this fruit so that she can heal an inner wound. And her love, her champion, goes to find Salamoon, this fictional tree that holds this fruit, to carry it back to her. And now you've created meaning behind a word because you've created a story. A story behind it. But even the word fruit, like all of these words have meaning based on the stories that we have around them, and more importantly, the stories that we have around them personally, right? So April O'Neil, for me personally, has a huge influence. So April O'Neil from Channel 6 News, the besties of the Turtles, right? And so she knew secrets. She knew all of that kind of stuff. What brand is my dog now? I don't know what that means. But in terms of April O'Neil, she is, Lois Lane is this archetype as well, right? This news anchor. I'm going to find the true story, the truth of the truth, and you know, and also knowing when to keep secrets, right? Like, you're not going to reveal where the turtles' hideout is or any of that kind of stuff. You're also interested in bringing light to truths where they make sense, right? So the truth in the shadows, bringing that to light where I am Jean Grey, but I'm also April O'Neil, right? So I think in all of you as well, like there's these different aspects of you that play with each other. So my April O'Neil self, she's the whole reason why I even moved to Toronto, because I moved to Toronto initially back in the day to do broadcast journalism, right? So I was like, I'm gonna be a news anchor. Yeah, different and aspects of yourself, and like also like at what age you are. So I actually I got this April O'Neil cosplay, I think, when was it? Oh, it was when me and my sister were revisiting you know, the old arcade game with the side swiper with the Ninja Turtles. That one you can get on Xbox right now. So me and my sister, we revisited it. I played as Michelangelo and she played as Raphael, I think, or no, Leonardo. I think she started out liking Donatello, and she became a Leonardo fan. I love Leonardo too, but also in games like that, when you're doing side swipers, I always like making sure you have like weapons that have like far reach, you know. So drop in the chat if you have a favorite side swiper game. I know, Voice of, when you brought up like Double Dragon, the Marvel one, or the Avengers one, where they have like Captain America, and I think we found out that it was Vision in that game. I was like, don't remember Vision being in that game, but I think we found that out. Or Metroid Sideswiper. So Ninja Turtles Sideswiper game. If I did Devil Dragon, yeah, RoboCop's a good one. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot. Oh yeah, I'd have to write that down, because there's emulators now you can get to play them, and so maybe we can play them live on TikTok. Maybe there's a way to do it, because especially the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle one, right? So you can play as April O'Neil, but back in the day when I played, you could only play as the 4 turtles. So yeah, the quarters at Celebration Station, yeah, or airports. I used to like remember just airports, or even like movie theaters, right? Before you go in, like your friends like, you know, hang out in the arcades and play all the games, Mortal Kombat and all. I loved Mortal Kombat too, actually. Marvel versus Capcom. I'm a big video game like nerd, so I came back to this because April O'Neil, the Ninja Turtles, all that love between them. And so this, as I said, the concept of that, I wanted to be April O'Neil, right? Because you want to find the truth to it. Because I was like, there's got to be something else going on here, more than what the powers that aren't let us believe. So what we're doing today is welcome to Monday, you guys. It's Magical Monday. It is October 7th, 2024. Welcome. We actually, Double Dragon cost $5 in quarters to beat in 89. You know what? I would be interested, you know, if there was a way, like, you know, the emulators now, obviously, you don't need to put in a quarter to continue, but it would be cool to know, like, playing the game now, how many quarters you would actually have needed to beat the game, like how many times you die. We beat the game, me and my sister, but that last level with Shredder, I don't remember it being so hard. Like, if you go back and play that game, do me a favor, you guys, go back and replay the Ninja Turtles side-scroller game. You can get 3 other people in on it, and like, I'll figure out a way to do that here. That's gonna be my mission, you guys. I'll report back later on tonight when I go live, but there's got to be a way. But the final boss, the Shredder guy, in the end was so hard. Like, it was difficult. We died so many times, and the one thing I love about co-op play is, right, when one of you is dying, the other person can come and like help. But unfortunately too, like, let's say I'm dying and like my sister's coming in, she's trying to help me, but while she's helping me, she's getting killed by like the boss guy. So like, I'm like, no, sacrifice me, leave me, I'll just use my life, because you're just dying trying to help me. And so you have to like make those calls, be like, no, I leave me, go ahead. So I relate astro, going back to like reading the chart of the now, I relate astro to kind of like waypoints in a video game, right? You are so heroic. Yeah, no, leave me. Beat the game without me. Don't try to heal me using up all of your health trying to like help me. Because like in there too, like if you get pizza, you get like life. I love games like that. It's so much fun, all the whimsy of when you're creating it. Cowabunga. Cowabunga, dude. Thanks, Louie, for that. And the little turtle. Oh yeah, okay. Call of Duty Zombies with similar feeling. Oh yeah. Oh, I haven't played that one. I'm a big screamer with video games. I get really into it. But I look at video games as psychic training, you guys. Think about it. Like, you're using controls, right? But do you guys play inverted at all? First person shooter? If you play first person shooters, because I'm an inverted player, and I was talking to my sister about this, and I was like, how many of us are there? Like, when you're like moving your head around, because I look at it as like, you know, if you're piloting a plane and, you know, you're pulling up on the joystick, and if like the joystick is like your head, then you're like looking up when you're pulling up, right? So that's how I kind of video game it, as opposed to like not inverted, where if you're looking up, you're also going up. So like, I can't. We switched controllers once. I had to like leave to the bathroom. I gave it to the controller to my sister. She's like, I cannot play this. I cannot play inverted. So it's just, I feel like that's a tell for us as well in the game of life, that this is just like astro, the cosmos, the beautiful mystery of the world and the reality that we're in give us clues and intel and indicators to give us more information about ourselves, right? It's to know yourself in respect and in relation to the greater universe, and also being aware that you are the whole universe too. And that's the fun mystery of like that we can't ever conceive in our logical head, that I think through imagination and playing and all that, we're able to play in those realms without having to think too hard or analytically about it. So with that, let's go into the reading of the now, and then I'm going to do a quick card reading for all of us, the collective, and yeah, I think that'll be it. Hey Brian, oh hello from New Hampshire. I have some family there. Well, I have some step family there actually. Oh, I missed some comments here. Regulus, I love your name, Regulus. That's a Regulus is a fixed star, and it's associated with Leo. So, if you think about your astro too, you can also think about your when you were conceived too, right? Like when your parents got down, and like when that little spark happened, you can think about just count 9 months from you. So, if you look at the sky for then as well, like for me, I was born a Taurus. And if I go back to my date of conception, I was born with Regulus in my chart. So just all these things are like your own as well. So Chaos Miami is also a star. I love you guys. Yeah. Oh, hello. Oh, and Star Wars has a lot of love. I love Star Wars. I tried to play what was it, Star Wars Rebels? And we played Battlefront for a bit, but I didn't like the campaign. I only wanted Battlefront to play on Endor. Okay, so you guys, let's go into the chart reading of the now. If you have any questions, please do drop them in the chat. I'm gonna preview guys what I'm reading later. The crossover comic between Batman and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So I do the comic book reads, but those are later, and this is the astro of the now because that helps ground us in the energies that are going on right now. So it's not to say like, oh, Mercury is in retrograde, be afraid. No, it's just like you don't sow your seeds now in the fall, you're harvesting. So it's just like testing the cosmic, like this is your cosmic newsflash. This is what's going on in the cosmos. You, with your own placements, are going to be activated by certain placements that are going on in the sky. And so isn't it better? Oh, there's Gotham again. Isn't it better for you to know that you're activated right now so you can make the best use of what those energies are? So it's just that, giving yourself a little bit of a leg up when it comes to everything. Like, or when you're playing video games, right? Like Halo. I love Halo. It's like the hunters, and you can't shoot them when they have the shields up. You're just going to waste all your ammo, right? So you have to wait for the appropriate time when the shields are down. So I look at that with like everything, right? It's timing of things, and there are clues out there and friends out there to help us on our way so that we don't get lost. Or if we get lost, we just find our way back to us in some sort of way. Okay, so I'm running this hey Seth, Scorpio. So Scorpios are actually, there's a lot of stuff to talk about with Scorpios actually. We're in that time of the chart right now that is like the fall. And so there's a lot right now of looking back into the past, and not just past, like, your past selves, because that's a lot, but past lives, right? And whether or not you subscribe to this concept of past lives or reincarnation or any of that kind of thing, it's just this concept of cycles, right? John, you're Batman. Batman should be I should make a superhero astro, you know what I mean? Where like Aries is Wonder Woman and Taurus is Green Lantern, just based on their signs and stuff. Batman's actually an Aries, if you guys didn't know that. Gemini we'll get into just a sec. So yeah, because there's a lot of there's stuff in Gemini too. So I'm gonna just place. So this is my chart. I'm actually also making an RPG game based on this and the dice rolls and stuff. So when you enter the game of life, had a particular configuration with planets, and then you woof, came down here and are living out what these are, these angles and energies that are unique to just you. Literally, no two people on the planet have the same sign or blueprint, cosmic blueprint, let's call it that. You are unique, completely unique, and no one else can play the role that you are meant to play in this world. So it's important for you to be you, just saying. Okay, so the sun is in Libra, so we are full on into Libra season right now. I'm going to line up this chart so that it lines up with the ascending being what it is. So when you think of your rising sign, so your birth time, that lines up the rest of your chart. So right now, it's 1 p.m., well, 1:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And so that lines up with being the ascending sign being Sagittarius. So that's your rising sign. So your birth time tells you where your chart lines up. And it basically lines up the rest of your housing system. And so depending on when your rising sign is, your sun may not be in the first house. It may be in another house. And that has its own meanings behind it. So thank you, Wolf Knight. I like your name. Okay, so as your Cosmic Newsflash story, let's go into all of our fun planets. I'm going to give you a story behind each of the planets as I place them as it comes to great myth, because I find that myth helps for you to understand the energies that are associated with the planetary rulers. And that way, you yourself, like Scorpio, for example, is ruled by Pluto. And Gemini is ruled by Mercury. And so if you look at your own planetary rulers and what they're doing in the chart, you may understand a little bit more as to why you're feeling a certain way, or why you're getting triggered, or maybe you finally have that burst of energy to write that email that you meant to write, that kind of stuff. So the sun right now is in Libra, and that is, where are you, my Libra? Here, you're here. And it's midway through Libra right now, right? So I'm going to place you in the center. Right, also happening in Libra right now is the midheaven, because of the lineup of the rising sign as when we wrote this, ran this chart rather. And then we're also having Mercury in here as well. So there's a Mercury Libra conjunction, but that's nice. That's a wonderful conjunction, because Libra is ruled by Venus, and Venus is relationships, art, beauty, luxury, sensuousness, all that kind of juiciness. And so having that with your sun, the sun is Apollo. Think of the sun gods, Ra, inspiration. It's also, when you think of your horoscope, that's your solar sign, your soul sign. So this would be in Taurus for me, right? Being a Taurus. And this would be in Scorpio for you if you're a Scorpio. November 6th. I think you have a similar birthday too. Yeah, you're a Scorpio. Oh, a lot of Scorpio friends in here. So Seth, Scorpios, I'm going to get to you guys in 2 shakes, because Pluto has been retrograde for a while, but it's going to be going direct soon. So Scorpios are ruled by Pluto. So it going direct, you can now finally feel like you're out of this weird sticky situation that you may have been in emotionally. Okay, so Mercury is also with the sun. So think of Mercury like Thoth, Hermes, the messenger of the gods, everyone's best friend. Also in Egyptian myth, Thoth and Ra ride together through the sky, right? So he's there to give intel to the gods from all realms. And so so if we think of Geminis and Virgos, which are both ruled by Mercury, they are very much mental, and speaking things into truth is something that is, in them. It's how they express. And so having Mercury, the planet of communication and thought and memory and magic and all of these things that I told you even before, language being a technology, with the sun, oh, Mikhail, thank you. It's empowering Libra. And Libra is diplomacy. Libra is the ease in relationships. It's just about the, thank you so much for the roses, Mikhail. It's just about these two energies empowering each other. So for you as well, you may want to look at your own chart and see what planets are best friends in the house and hanging out. Because the sun and Mercury together in Libra, this, for us right now, as a grand collective level, we're going to have a bit more ease to be able to tell other people how we really feel, right? And, saying I love you and and really meaning it. And also other ways of saying love you besides I love you, right? like poetry or a hug or all these different ways that we communicate emotion that isn't just like the words, because that is also Mercury's domain. We forget sometimes that body language is a huge part of communication. So that's there in Libra right now. We also have Venus is in Scorpio. Now, that is intense. Where are you? I almost forgot about that. I'm ruled by Venus. So if you're a Taurus and if you're a Libra, you're going to have the fact that, well, that's Virgo. Here we go. That's Scorpio. So if we go around the wheel, right? So having that there is like this intensity of relationships. So the shadow side of this, of course, is it's like when I was talking about the green lanterns, right? You have all the different lanterns, and the star sapphires deal with love. And so you're like, okay, well, like love is the most powerful force in the universe. How come the star sapphires are villains? Well, it's because the star sapphires murder in the name of love, right? And so they use love as a justification, because let's say you love someone so much, and I've had to deal with this in the past. You love someone so much, and it hits a point where, for whatever reason, that individual, things have changed and they don't love you back. And you now have to deal with this, right? And that concept, right, of loving someone and having them not necessarily love you back in the way that you would want them to, right? So there's no right way to love, but at the same time, love is free. And so the learning here is that to release any of these like possessiveness, is that how you say it? Possessiveness? Yeah, possessiveness that comes around Scorpio. Jealousy, this idea that like, this is mine, only mine, and you can only be with me because I love you so much. So that way of using love, not so nice. Love is more about like, I love you, and so even if you love someone else, I love you enough to want you to be happy with who you're meant to be with. So it's having a more elevated view of what it means to love each other, our human family, and love in general, and have it just be something that is freely given as opposed to used as a tool, a bargaining chip, and all this other stuff. Because then it's not really, truly love. Now is it? Okay, so other things going on. We have Saturn, just because this is the first one that came on top here, is in Pisces. It is, are you moving? You're moving, yeah. So it was actually, I think, in a more intense degree before, but it's now not so much. So, but it's still there. Saturn in Pisces. So if you were born with Saturn in Pisces, you're going through a Saturn return right now, which means like this revisitation of your magnum opus, your life's work, all that kind of stuff. Seth, your moon is in Sagittarius. That's going to be good coming up. The moon is moving into Sagittarius from, it's actually in Sagittarius right now. We'll go to the moon next, because that, you're going to find your emotional self activated right now because of that. So going back to Saturn, any of you Pisces friends, the voice of one, not that I don't think you don't already have a very active dream world, but dreams, this is across the board. Dreams are all very intense right now, just intense. People who, let's say, have never astral traveled or never couldn't remember their dreams or any of this kind of stuff, that's all coming through now. And so there's also this level too of illusion, right? Because Pisces deals with illusion and glamour. And oh, thank you for the roses, Izzy. I like that. Izzy, perplexity. Oh, perplexity. I love that. Oh, okay. So this intensity. So I was born, just to let you guys know, wherever your Saturn placement, something to kind of look at, so that, I don't know if you can even deal with your Saturn return, like, because you get a Saturn return, we all get a Saturn return typically twice every lifetime. So Saturn takes about 30 years to go around the chart, right? So my friend, actually, who's a fellow dragon warrior in my comic book, she is actually born with Saturn in Pisces. And so she's been feeling a lot of this return coming back to, like, Saturn in Pisces is all about the psyche and the collective dream of all. And there's also this awareness of the darkness of it, and this concept too of bridging the gap, making dreams reality. So Saturn itself is actually associated a lot with like earth energy. Saturn rules Capricorn. So there's this concept of the boundaries. Like, you know, you have an idea. You can't have a game. You can't have a game. But Nico Bolto, you know that in Batgirl, the wig is actually also bulletproof. So it protects me from bullets. So all of us is like, we're all in cosplay. This is the big LARP of life. It's whatever you want to choose to show up in the game as. So in terms of this, it's like you can't have games without rules or structure. So when it comes to dreams as well, it's like this concept on a collective level. If we're all dreaming a collective dream, how do we bring that into reality, right? Bring that to fruition, to have a collective dream that serves the betterment of like humanity and all that kind of stuff. So that's Saturn. We also have, what else is in Pisces is Neptune, and I had lost Neptune for a while, but then he came back, so thank goodness, Neptune. I wouldn't want you to be upset with me. So let's see here. Neptune being here, it's this idea of like glamour magic, right? So, or not glamour, but the dual sides of like what you see and what you're perceiving, and the connections between those things. So having this here, I wouldn't say it's a true conjunction. Neptune is the one that is actually more near this omega point of the entire zodiac, which is like the end of all ends and the beginnings of all beginnings. So it's kind of like this over connection here of like these two titans of Poseidon and Kronos, so time and then the deep subconscious together. My cosplay, like Red Hood, Batman, Deadpool. Oh yeah. I like Red Hood too. There's the Bat family also deals a lot with the darkness. So that's the thing too. Batman's birthday is what? April 30th, making him an Aries. But I have a hunch that he probably has a moon in Scorpio. Superman himself is actually also a Pisces. So I look at there's some stuff there when we think about being a representative or being a harbinger or an avatar that represents a larger ancestry of you. So like you are not just living your life on behalf of you. You're living your life. You're the dream of your ancestors, right? You are the dream of like those who came before you. And I love how Dr. Manhattan puts it, just to quote him again, like the thermodynamic miracle. Out of all the chances and all the stars, it's just you that appeared. So also near Aries, I don't have a glyph for it, but it's kind of near Neptune, is the North Node. And the North Node is related to the moon. And so let's bring it back to the moon, because I know, Seth, you said that your moon is in Sagittarius. And so that, where are you, Sagittarius? You are the arrow. I look at Sag as also being the sign of, it's ruled by Jupiter. It's also associated with, the arrow and fire of initiation. So I look at Sagittarius, they're typically associated with travel. And so having the moon there too, it's like this concept of seeking out the truth. The moon was in Scorpio, which is a very intense placement. So having these two goddesses in the same sign was almost like competing with each other, competing energies of things. And so having the moon here eases our emotions a little bit and brings us back to our core self. So this concept of, seeking for the truth, whatever your heart's truth is, the deeper truth behind things, being aware that perhaps you may have to leave your home or leave the current status quo or what you're doing right now in order to find that truth. Or there's an ease to that though, right? Because change can be scary, but can also be a lot of fun, right? If you're moving to a new place and you can make new friends and all that kind of stuff. So I think here there's like these positive energies around what it means to actually start something new, because the energies overall in the cosmos is a lot of looking back. And not like looking back, like staying stuck in the past or staying stuck in loops, but more like final exams, right, of Earth School, where you're like, okay, all of the stuff I've learned, all of the stuff I've practiced, all of the labs, all the things, I'm going to now on this final exam put all of that into practice and ace this exam so that we can go on to the next level of being and the next stage of existence. And that's what's kind of happening in the cosmos right now from Pluto and Uranus. So I'm going to go into Uranus first. Thanks, Ash. This is just my viewpoint, you guys. You don't have to take any of it. You don't have to take anybody's viewpoints but your own. Like you decide what you let into your internal mythology, your internal sacred stories, right? Like, you know, when, like, The Crow, right? They read it, The Crow, and I loved the first Crow with Brandon Lee. You don't have to watch that movie. Like, I don't know, I'm not going to watch that movie. I don't need to have that story. I already have the other story. I'm just going to rewatch the Crow movie again, right? So you have that power in your own life to be able to empower yourself through the stories that you get to tell yourself internally and what ones you let in, right? Where are we now? Okay, so Uranus. You Asian folks. My mom is. My mom's Filipino. My dad's South African, though. If you look, I want to have my sister on this at some point in time. She does Wonder Woman stuff, and she's a big comic book nerd, but she is such a DC hardcore fan, so she doesn't look at anything Marvel. It's fine, kind of interesting, but she loves Thor. It's weird. But I visited South Africa. When was it? 2016. I don't have a lot of Asian folks there. So I stuck out. I also had like platinum blonde hair at the time. And it was fun. I met a lot of friends, and I loved telling them, I'm like, hey, I'm half South African. And they loved it because they were like, oh, you're like the dream of our ancestors. And I loved South Africa in the sense of like, they had this saying of like, your brothers and sisters of Africa, like you all come home to Africa, we're all from the same earth. And so the fact that I was like mixed race and coming back to South Africa, and it was just, it was not what I thought it was going to be. I didn't go to, where should I put it? I didn't go to Cape Town. I was in Johannesburg, so it was a lot more city, but it was still nice. Okay, let's finish off the chart, and then we're going to do a quick read for everybody, and then I'm going to wrap up, and I'll see you guys later on this evening. So Uranus is the revolutionary planet, and it rules Aquarius. And Uranus, just like, what are the other planets? Neptune and Pluto were not discovered till a little bit later on, right? So if you think about, goes to Joburg for sure. Yeah, it's the more industrial city, right? So, but I do want to go back and visit and go to Cape Town next time. But Uranus, right? I was doing Mozart's chart as an example to your RPG astro chart. I don't have it handy right now, but I'll show it to you guys a little bit later. But German, Irish, I love the mixes. I like to call ourselves the kings and queens of the children of Earth, and we are stewards of this planet and guardians, right? And so there's this concept too of us realizing who we are, you know, like in The Lion King, remember who you are so that you can claim your birthright, right? That is yours. The sword and the stone that is always meant for you is waiting for you to release it, right? That is only yours to pull. So Uranus is in, where are you? Not to say, I don't say Uranus, but you could. That is in Taurus, my home sign. So I feel this personally just because when you have planets in your own home signs, you're going to find, you're in Taurus. That's so weird. I thought it was in Gemini for a bit. I guess it moved. That's crazy. So it was in Taurus, it moved into Gemini, and now it's back in Taurus. So Uranus is a disruptor, revolutionary, rules Aquarius. And so Aquariuses do feel generally that, oh, you're a Taurus too, I'm your boss. Hey, Taurus gang. So all of us, Taurus folk, fixed signs. This is a good segue too as well into when I'm talking about the fixed signs and we do the card reading. But being fixed, right? Stuck in your ways. So every sign has a shadow, every sign has a gift. So for Taurus, you know, dependable. You will never quit. You will push until things get done. Now, sometimes you make a mistake and you're pushing in one direction and you're like, oh crap, I have to change directions. That is hard. That is freaking hard. And it's really hard for me to give up on things because I don't like losing. You know what I mean? So even though you like know this isn't working anymore, I should probably just like step away and like call it. It's not gonna work. Hard time. And this is something with like my more mutable sign friends, my more cardinal sign friends to take learnings from. And this is what I think Uranus does for all of us Taurians or anyone who has any of those fixed placements that like, hey, you can be a bit more flexible when you need to at times, right? But that's just the learning. You can't do it all the time. But if you have moments or opportunities where like you're like, you know what, maybe this time I'm not going to be super stubborn. I'm going to, oh, thanks, Strix. Yeah, and I love April O'Neil because she's like the bestie, and I feel like Taurus is the bestie. I don't know, like let's look up if April O'Neil has a birthday. It's like, because typically creators of the characters will give their characters birthday. So let's see, April O'Neil, what's your birthday, girl? O'Neil birthday. She was my crush too, you guys. It is April O'Neil is a fictional character from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Fictional says you. She is the first human ally of the Ninja Turtles. April made her first appearance at the Mirage, or in the Mirage comic series in 1984 as a computer programmer. I'm like, I just had full body tingles because my dad was a professor in computer science, so I learned to code when I was like 10. That's crazy. Weird, because Batgirl's also a computer program. You guys, we all just learned. Guessed I am. I laugh at a lot of things. I laugh because sometimes you'll just cry. Let's see here. Okay, yes. She was later portrayed as a strong-willed news reporter in the Turtles' first animated series, which is when I first saw her, right? The animated series, right? A warrior in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Adventures comic produced by Archie Comics. So Archie Comics produced that, and various other personas in different Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles media. While depicted as a red-haired adult woman in the comic series and in the 1987 and 2003 animated series, she's depicted as being a teenager in the okay, there's all these other things. Her love interest is the vigilante Casey Jones. Judith Hoag. Okay, I wonder if she was in anything else. Okay, they're not giving me a birthday though. They're just giving me her first appearance. Oh, thank you. Worst spots for ticklish is like your ribs, your feet. But like ribs are also like, I had a cousin who her tickling was like painful. You know, like when they like go right into your ribs, you're like, I'm laughing, but I'm literally like feel like I'm gonna die. And I feel like that's like the Joker thing, right? Where like it's laughing, but it's like it's kind of creepy too at the same time. This isn't giving me her birthday. Okay, well, I will find it. We will find it, you guys, and then I will report back. So April O'Neil, I look at as a Taurus and being kind of like bestie friends. I've realized that I've missed some of the other planets, and let's get to that so I can wrap up this call with you guys. So Jupiter is in Gemini. So we do have the expansion that also further activates this whole Mercury and Sun situation. So Jupiter in Gemini, Jupiter is very lucky, very expansive. So having that in Gemini also, as I said, helps to empower this situation here with Libra, where we have diplomacy, art, beauty, all of these ways of ease of communication empowered by our ability to speak. So that email you've been meaning to send, that text you wanted to do, that call you wanted to do, it's probably a good time to do it this week or around this time. It's also a level of, you're going to probably find people from the past, old lovers from the past, making themselves appear. And it's kind of more up to you whether or not you want to include them in your new life. Like, I've recently reinvigorated my friendships with some of my friends from when I was like 5 or 6 years old. So that's been kind of cool because they know you from before, and then like, yeah, and then now they know you now, and so we have stories from the past and like different perspectives on them, and it's just kind of fun to go back and like share those stories with each other, like, and from a place of love, you know. She apologized to me the other day for like I used to draw all my friends as like anime characters, like Japanese anime. I'm relearning how to draw again, so in my own style. But she was like, do you remember when I ripped up this old picture that you drew? And I'm like, no. And she's like, I felt really bad about that for years. And I'm so happy I got to like apologize to you. And I'm like, Laura, I don't remember that happening. But that just goes to show your own perspective and how you look at things that have happened in your past, right? So like you may have had this conversation with someone, you're like, oh my gosh, I was a moron, I shouldn't have said that. But then that person was like, you were actually quite lovely. I didn't get that on that end. So it's just this idea of like, that's why it's nice to share stories with each other. So it's nice to have just that other view. And we can be so hard on ourselves sometimes, you know, like, so it's good to have like, those who actually care about you. And April O'Neil is like, you know, your bestie. Like, I'm not gonna judge you. If you like, you need something, just come to me. I'll help you out, you know? Okay, so Mars is also in Cancer. That also further activates the whole like love warrior situation. This idea of protecting that what you love and holding your line for that. That's definitely there for sure. And then finally we have Mr. Pluto here, who rules Scorpio, and he, regardless of if you think Pluto is a planet or not, it still exerts a type of cosmic energy, and that is sitting in where are you again? You're in Capricorn. Okay, yes. Because it's going to be in Capricorn. Where are we here? It's going to be in Capricorn for about till November 18th. And so what I was telling you guys about the whole final exams thing as it comes to like Earth school is like, that's what this Pluto thing's all about. But all of you Scorpio folks, it's been in Capricorn, but it's now finally moving direct. So it's moving directly into Aquarius. So that's going to feel a lot better for you Scorpios. You may have felt recently like almost like stuck or paralyzed. And so what Marvel DC character I think Scorpio is very much associated, I feel like, with like Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch would be very Scorpio, because it's very Scorpio deals with like what is unseen, unconscious, the truth behind the truth. So there's also that level with Scorpio which can be duality, right? So in one story, so I would say like maybe the Justice League Dark in DC would be that as well, this concept of like, in this story I'm a hero, in this you may not like me very much, or in this I'm a hero, like Han Solo. Han Solo is more of like a rogue, so I would say he's kind of a combination of Gemini, maybe Capricorn. So that's what I mean in terms of your signs, like the character types that you play. So for example, if your sun is in a certain sign, maybe in some situations you behave more like Batman, and in some situations you behave more like Lex Luthor even, right? So it's just kind of like all of this like in you to kind of like realize where you can empower yourself, and also like look for blind spots, right? Because for a long time, like before I came to astrology, I was a Taurus, right? I'm like, I'm a Taurus, la la la. And I liked being a Taurus. I still do love being a Taurus. But then I found out my moon was in Gemini, and then I had this like moment of like, oh my gosh, really? I'm like, am I two-faced? But then like I asked that question because like that's the common, you know, a lot of my Gemini friends don't like that stereotype that Geminis are two-faced, but like that's just the shadow of it, right? Every sign has a shadow, every sign has a gift. Gemini's gift is this ability to be very mutable, to be able to fit in any scenario no matter what, you know, like great spy if you think about it, like master of disguise. Maybe it's why I love cosplay so much, to like change your different personas, right? Now what's key for this is that awareness of that happening, right? Awareness of your different selves, not this almost like lying to yourself about what one part of you is doing, and then like put that person in a closet and be like, that wasn't me, that was another guy. You know, so it's just claiming responsibility for all the parts of you, and also like get in check with yourself the parts of you that maybe just need a little bit more guidance and help, right? So like when I found out with my moon sign, I was like, okay, I do this. Like I do a thing, like Gemini has this thing where like I love, let's say, a certain type of coffee, right? And I'll order it, I'll be upset with it. I'm obsessed with it. Oh, delicious. I love it, love it. And then one day I'll wake up and just be like, you know what? Don't like it anymore. I've had my fill of it. I don't really care. I don't really like it anymore. So that's just kind of like that switch of like, that just happens. Now, what's important to note is that when you switch like that it's not something that hurts other people, you know? Be aware of like that is something that you can maybe shift and play with, and be aware and have a bit more responsibility of your behavior when that happens emotionally. So that's just a viewpoint of just accepting all the multifaceted parts of yourself. And so, Seth, I think you said you were a Scorpio with a Sagittarius moon. And so those are actually both very intense signs, right? So it's a matter of Scorpio's water, Sagittarius is fire. And so those two things to each other, right? Water and fire, you would think that they're very like different elements, but you can maybe find a way of using them together to create steam and empower that, right? Called me Deadpool, Batman, Red Hood, and Joker. Yeah, I could see that. Deadpool, I wonder what his birthday is. I will look into that chart. So what I'm going to do now, guys, I'm going to do a card reading. A card reading of the, for us, from the Major Arcana for the Everlasting Now. So I didn't realize I was going to chat with you guys so much. And I was going to do a card reading for each of the modalities. So for all the fixed signs. So all the fixed signs are Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, and Leo. The cardinal signs are Aries, Cancer, Capricorn. What am I missing? Libra. They're all cardinal signs, so initiators of the zodiac. And then you have the mutable signs, more flexible distribution signs. So Gemini, Sagittarius, Pisces, and Virgo. So I was going to do a read for each of those. I'll save that for maybe later on this evening when I bring back that comic book. But for now, like considering that we did the whole chart of the Everlasting Now, we kind of get a sense of where we are in time, space, and the cosmos. We're going to do a 1-card Major Arcana pull to kind of for all of us, my human family, as to how we can best deal with the energies today. And then if you want more astro, I will be back at noontime tomorrow. I don't know which character I will be. I think that's a little bit of my own divination as to who shows up for me. But my schedule is noon and midnight, Monday to Thursdays. Every other time from Friday to Sunday is kind of like wild card. Okay, so we are going to do a 1-card Major Arcana pull. I could be April every day and do a special newsflash for that because it fits. Oh, I love it. I love this card. I love all the cards, but you know. Asterisks. It could be April every day because like time is not a construct, right? And it's not linear, and it is always happening all the time, always, all at the now, right? So this is the card I pulled for all of us, our whole collective family. It is Temperance. Now, Temperance, every deck, this is a Shadowscapes card deck. I keep it with my dragons. Each deck, even every book, like let's say you took a book, you just flipped through to a random page and like closed your eyes and like read a line. That's a form of divination. You could say that like that line in that book was what you meant to read. You were meant to read today. I recommend you try that every once in a while, see what happens. But that's the same idea, this idea that there's not chance, there's serendipity. There is this whole concept of synchronistic events coming together in what seems like a coincidence but is not. So in this case, Temperance is the alchemical card. It's the concept of when you bake a cake, right? You are, it's more than, you can't just take like flour and eggs and water and just like mash it all together. I'm like, okay, now I have a cake. You have to go through like the right order. It has to be the right amounts. It has to be like make sure it doesn't burn. It has to be synthesized and worked on, right? So even though you have all the pieces, it's like in what order and what, all that kind of stuff. So what this says for me in terms of Temperance is that we have a lot of energies in the cosmos right now that we can leverage and work with. And some of them may seem opposing in nature, right? It may seem like, I had a friend of mine, because I produce shows, right? So, and trying to work together outlines, because if you're talking about live streaming and what you can talk about, you could literally talk about anything, right? And so she was saying to me, Zaria, by the way, she's like, well, my show is all about like tea time and stories. Like, I don't know if I want to talk about like Ex Machina or this other TV show that's out. I'm like, I don't know, like, you can do that. You just have to make the guardrails around it. You can switch. You just have to take people with you. And so there's this level there too about like, for example, like if I'm the type of person, I'm always early for things. And I have a friend of mine, she's always late for things, but I'm okay with it because she always lets me know. So it's just expectation, right? I feel like for the most case, if you're going to be late or something's going to happen, you let people know what's going on. There's usually some forgiveness associated with it. So I recommend for you guys just to think about all the parts of your life that seem like they're disparate and see where some of them can come together in a fruitful collaboration in creative ways that you may have not thought of before, because a lot of that is happening on a large overall scale. So there's that level of taking all of the things, just like in our final Earth exam, to put it all together for you to really make magic happen. We also have this fun little dragon here, watching over the whole thing. And in Dragonlance, the silver dragons are associated with love, the emotion of love. So through love, you can alchemize and, pain, heartbreak, all of these emotions that sometimes, like, they're hard, right? But if you can take them, and just like how Libra is art is one of the best ways to alchemize all of that stuff, like anger, pain, grief. It can all kind of be synthesized, and you can actually make something quite beautiful from it. So that is the reading for all of us, the collective now temperance, and this concept of synthesizing things together. And yeah, it's wonderful. All right, friends, thank you guys for joining me for this fun little astro chat midday as April O'Neil with your Cosmic Newsflash, just letting you know how things are going in the stars. If you want to grab this replay, I will have it available very soon. I'm also organizing all of my stuff in such a way so that from a library perspective, I have a few characters that I play as, but just organizing all my girls in such a way that you can get all the readings from them. So, because as I said, I typically read as a character in the comic book. So it's like this meta way of looking at the story so that you also can like see yourself in your own story too, as the hero that you are. That's the key, right? And sometimes, I read that Supergirl comic book where at the end they find out this like conspiracy. Oh, thank you. Happy Halloween, guys, too. We have a lot of Halloween fun events coming up for you guys too. Gotham Rave, as well as I think we're gonna do an ode to old TV shows, like TV shows of the 80s and 90s. Like what's an example? Like Fred Flintstone and the Jetsons and She-Ra and Rainbow Bright and all of these like old animated kind of things, or TV shows in general, and just kind of like have a revisitation of what that is. Ren and Stimpy. Oh my gosh, Jade, I almost forgot about Ren and Stimpy. Or Pinky and the Brain. Pinky and the Brain. And today, Pinky, we are going to take over the world. Or even Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? Felix the Cat. And I feel like there was just a lot more like random animated adventures, like Mike Tyson, like Jackie Chan had an animation thing. Kim Possible. Oh my gosh, Kim Possible. Samurai Pizza Cats. Jaden. I almost forgot about Samurai Pizza Cats. But also like the old animes, right? Like Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z, Escaflowne, if you guys know that anime. Yu-Gi-Oh! Oh my gosh, there's so many out there that are like trapped into like my nostalgia brain. And as I told you guys, all of these shows, all of these, they're stories. And so they are all how you create your inner world, right? So it's kind of fun right now, like to be able to like visit, like you at 6 years old watching a certain story left you with a certain imprint. And now if you revisit that now at the age you are now, it's like you can almost compare notes with you at 6, and you can come to like a bigger truth. And Jaden Reboot is the bomb. I have to show you my thing. Or it's like Matrix. He's Enzo, like all grown up. He goes into the net and like, yeah. So I've got a few things. I'm trying to do some stop motion stuff. We'll see how that all ends up working out. Yes, cartoons were better when they were hand drawn. Yeah, because there's that level of the art in it too, right? So even me, when I write, the books I write, anything I write, I always write it with like a real pen and paper, and then I'll transcribe it digitally. But like there's just something about like illustrations, even comic books. Some of the newer comic books, their illustrations are a bit too like graphic, you know what I mean? Like almost like CGI. It just looks almost like a video game, like stills. Literally can. Okay, if that's the case, I can literally make some fun stories, some crossovers between my Star Wars toys and because I used to work in tech, you guys. That's why I have a lot of toys. I used to work in digital project management, and if you guys know, you always keep a lot of toys around your desk. Claymation, I swear, is kind of creepy. And like the Cabbage Patch Kids and all that, those like like I did not like those Cabbage Patch Kids. They were kind of nightmare fuel, kind of creepy. Oh, I love it. Okay, guys, I'm gonna log off for now. I hope you learned something today. As I said, I will have a replay of this so you can get your Cosmic Newsflash. It's April O'Neil. I think I'll be doing this every Monday. I think that's what I'll do this as a schedule. I'll do April O'Neil Monday Cosmic weather so you guys can be prepared for the week. This week is very full of blasts from the past. So be aware of what's going to show up from your past, and you can decide whether or not those past relationships or those past things get to come with you into the new. That's up to you. So, thanks, Strix. Appreciate that. And I hope you guys have a lovely day, and I will leave you with what I always leave you, which is that only you can be you in this game of life. Everyone else is taken, right? And so you being you means unlocking your gift so that when the moment comes, you're going to step up to the plate and hit it, right? Yeah, because the universe is counting on you, right? But no worries. I got your back. Have a good one, guys. Until next time. Bye.